Dear students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. In this module, I will discuss about radar and satellite meteorology. Coming to the definition part, satellite meteorology refers to the study of the Earth's atmosphere and oceans using the data obtained from satellite-based remote sensing devices. Next slide is about evolution of satellite meteorology. Now, much before the invention of rockets and Earth orbiting satellites, the normal kites and balloons were used to collect atmospheric information. In comparison to kite and balloon, the airplane was able to provide observations for a relatively wider location and synoptic view of an area, thus became possible. On 4th October 1957, the era of Earth orbiting satellites began with the launch of Sputnik 1 by Soviet Union. The INSAT series is the major geostationary satellites from Indian origin. Presently, geostationary satellites with frequent observations and higher spatial resolution represent the equivalent of a reporting station. During the last few decades, scientists have launched thousands of satellites. According to NASA, there are currently over 2,500 satellites orbiting the Earth. Now next, coming to the types of meteorological satellites. These kind of satellites can be broadly classified into two main types. One is polar orbiting and the other one is geostationary. Polar orbiting. These satellites move around the Earth at about 750 to 900 km height by passing approximately the poles during its each orbit. As the satellite moves around the Earth, simultaneously the Earth is also rotating beneath the satellite. As a result, the entire surface can be observed by polar orbiting satellites. Examples of these satellites include NOAA, IRIS, OceanSat-1 and TRMM. Next is geostationary satellites. These satellites move around Earth over the equator at a height of about 36,000 km. The height of satellite is estimated to fix the angular velocity of the satellite such that it can complete one orbit around the Earth synchronized with the Earth's rotation around its own axis. Hence, the satellites remain virtually stationary over the Earth over a given location on the equator and are capable to provide images in every 30 minutes. Examples of these kind of satellites include GEOS, INSAT, GEOS, Meteosat series. Next is about how do satellites work. Satellites, as you know, they do not make direct measurements of the Earth's surface or atmosphere. The basis for remote sensing technology is electromagnetic radiation. Remote sensing instruments in all platforms like ground, air, space record different parts of spectrum absorbed, emitted or scattered by the gases and particles in our atmosphere. Frequently availability of reliable information on many meteorological parameters such as cloud, solar radiation, surface air temperature, rainfall, soil moisture and evapotranspiration have become possible using both meteorological and Earth observation satellites. Now the meteorological parameters are generally retrieved from satellite by establishing algorithm or empirical relationship between the estimated radiance of satellite and the ground based physical state variables. The optical, infrared, thermal or microwave sensors of the satellite can be utilized for deriving the required meteorological observations. Now, we will talk about satellite remote sensing instruments. Here, I will discuss about two kinds of instruments. First one is imagers. In satellite meteorology, mainly two types of imagers are used, visible and infrared. The visible imager measures the amount of visible light reflected from Earth's surface or cloud, whereas infrared imager measures the amount of radiation emitted. Next instrument is vertical atmospheric sounders. These radiometers measure infrared radiation of the atmosphere and provide vertical profiles of different atmospheric parameters like temperature, pressure, water vapor, trace gases. In this slide, you can see the contrast between the objects as seen in visible and infrared radiations. Now, one by one, applications of satellites in deriving different meteorological parameters will be discussed. The first parameter which will be discussed is cloud detection. Clouds can be differentiated from other Earth surface features based on its higher reflectance values and lower temperature. Due to its higher albedo than any other Earth feature except snow, in visible band imagery, the clouds appear as white or light grey. Based on the variation of albedo in visible imagery, the cloud, land and sea surface can be differentiated. The physical properties of the clouds, that is depth, water content, cloud droplet size, affect albedo, which ultimately reflects in the color and brightness of the clouds. In case of larger depth, high cloud water and small cloud droplet size, albedo will be high. Due to their lower temperature, the clouds generally appear lighter in infrared imagery. As the cloud temperature is decreasing with increase in height, the contrast among different levels of cloud can be visualized in infrared imagery. Moreover, the thin transparent cirrus cloud over warmer surface can be detected in infrared images. It is not possible to extract cloud textural information from infrared as it is based on emitted radiation and not the scattered radiation. Next, I will talk about cloud identification. You know, there are three kinds of clouds: low level, medium level and high level. These will be discussed side by side and a contrast will be given on how they appear in visible and infrared imagery. First of all, low level clouds. The first kind of cloud type discussed under low level cloud is cumulus. These are puffy cotton shaped clouds and are formed when heated up air rises faster than surrounding air. Next is stratus cloud. These have a uniform base and are generally featureless. These are formed when warmer and moist air pushed into block of colder air and formed a thick blanket over a cooler, denser cloud. Generally, these kind of clouds are stretched over a larger area. Next, I will discuss about is fog, which is milky white in appearance. Fog appears white, smooth with sharp edges in visible images, whereas the surrounding area appears darker. Next kind of clouds are rain clouds. In this type, cumulonimbus clouds which are anvil shaped will be discussed. Cumulonimbus clouds are formed due to unstable weather. This cloud is vertically extended and may be extended up to tropopause. Next type of clouds will be discussed are medium level clouds. First, altostratus. These are flat and featureless. These kind of clouds are formed when air is lifted slowly and the middle layers of the atmosphere are moist. Altocumulus clouds are formed when convection is occurring in the middle layers of atmosphere. Altocumulus clouds with little castle-like turrets may indicate severe weather. Coming to last category of clouds, which are high level clouds. First of all, cirrus or ice crystal clouds. These clouds appear thin and wispy. This cloud is generally aligned in same direction and do not completely cover the sky, whereas cirrocumulus clouds or popcorn shaped clouds, these clouds appear thin, white popped kernels floating high in the sky. Coming to the cirrostratus clouds, these kinds of clouds are sheets of cirrus and are continuous. Sun halos are common with this type of cloud. In the next slide, you will see How to identify the clouds? You can differentiate in this slide between the cumulonimbus, stratus and cumulus clouds in the same image. Here, red color outlines the cumulonimbus cloud, green color outlines the stratus and blue color outlines the cumulus clouds. Next meteorological parameter is rainfall. It can be detected by three techniques: visible and infrared radiometry, active and passive microwave sensing. First I will discuss about is visible and infrared radiometry. Visible and infrared techniques are simple to interpret but generally show a relatively lower accuracy. There are several methods for estimating the rainfall using visible and infrared images. Some of them are cloud indexing, thresholding, life history and cloud model. Each method has its unique interpretation towards sensing the physical properties of clouds. First, I will discuss about cloud indexing. In cloud indexing technique, the cloud types are identified from the satellite images and the corresponding rain rate is being applied to the identified cloud type. Different methods have been developed to calibrate the indices for rainfall estimation. First one is the EarthSat method, which estimates the 6-hour rainfall using the cloud temperature and empirical information for major crop growing regions. Next is manual Bristol method. It is a family of algorithms related to cloud indexing developed at the University of Bristol. Though the algorithms had been originally developed for polar orbiting NOAA satellites, those were successfully adopted for geostationary satellites as well. This method has been modified into an interactive method known as Bristol NOAA Interactive System BIAS. Here, 6 to 12 or 24-hour rainfall is a function of several cloud indices like rain, cloud type, fraction of rain cloud type area, cloud duration as well as the pixel characteristics in terms of climate category or surface measurements. Next kind of method which will be discussed is thresholding. This method is successfully adopted for polar orbiting and geostationary satellites. This method is based on the relationship of cold, bright clouds with associated high probable rainfall like in cumulonimbus cloud. This approach has been implemented in TAMSAT, which is Tropical Application of Meteorology using Satellite, and PERMIT, which is Polar Orbiter Effective Rainfall Monitoring Interactive Technique methods. In TAMSAT, the cold cloud duration is used as a surrogate for rainfall estimation, where the fractional coverage of cloud with temperature below 235 Kelvin is related to tropical rainfall. This approach led to development of GPI, which is Geois Precipitation Index. It is widely accepted and used by the meteorologists. The formula is GPI equals to 3F del T. Here GPI is mean rain rate estimation, F is fraction of area covered with cold clouds at temperature below 235 Kelvin, and T time interval between two successive images in hours. The PERMIT method uses the infrared thresholds for detecting rain cloud areas. In this approach, the rainy days are identified instead of cold cloud duration. Next is life history. Life history method generally provides rainfall estimates for any kind of convective clouds by considering the growth and disappearance of individual cloud cover time. Next point is life history. Life history method generally provides rainfall estimates for any kind of convective clouds by considering the growth and disappearance of individual cloud over time. This approach is totally based upon the temporal geostationary satellite images, where the time series images are analyzed to study the cloud's life cycle. The most adopted and acknowledged life history based rainfall estimation approach is Griffith-Woodley technique. Next is cloud model. In cloud model technique, the cloud physics is introduced for better understanding the rain forming processes and for quantitative improvement in the retrieval processes as such. A cumulus convection parameterization was used to estimate the rain rate from fractional cloud cover. A one-dimensional cloud model relates cloud top temperature to rain rate and rain area in the convective stratiform technique, that is CST. Now, second type of methods used for rainfall are passive microwave. In visible and infrared images, clouds appear as opaque and the rainfall is estimated using cloud top temperature and structures. In passive microwave, the precipitation particles are the main source of attenuation. Hence, microwave techniques are more direct techniques than visible or infrared. The emitted radiation from the atmospheric particles increases the signal, whereas the scattering due to hydrometeors decreases the radiation. Based on the upwelling radiation, the types and size of the hydrometeors can be detected. Above 60 gigahertz, the scattering due to ice dominates. Hence, only ice can be detected but not rain. Whereas, below 22 gigahertz, the ice layer above rain becomes virtually transparent, as the absorption is primary mechanism affecting the microwave radiation transfer. The microwave frequency between 19.3 and 85.5 gigahertz mainly interacts with different types of hydrometeors like water particles or cloud droplets. The major limitation of passive microwave technique is its poor spatial and temporal resolution. Due to the differential radiative characteristics of different Earth surface features, the interpretation of this type of data becomes more difficult. Special sensor microwave imager and tropical rainfall measuring mission microwave imager are the major passive microwave sensors used for rainfall estimation. Now, coming to the last kind of method used for the rainfall, active microwave. The precipitation radar is the best space-based precipitation measuring instrument till now. It operates at 13.8 gigahertz and is a critical part of the tropical rainfall measuring mission TRMM. It is capable of providing the vertical profile of the rain. In the next slide, you will see two images which display the 3-hour rainfall data and 7-day accumulated rainfall data using TRMM based multi-satellite precipitation analysis. Next, I will discuss about air temperature. Air temperature can be retrieved using land surface temperature and the regression parameters. AVHRR and MODIS have been extensively used for deriving the land surface temperature. Satellite derived vegetation index is used to estimate the air temperature as surface temperature of a closed canopy is equal to the air temperature. In this slide, you will see a color contour map which shows air temperatures. The key below the image shows the corresponding temperature value for each color. The image is acquired by advanced very high resolution radiometer. The second map shows daytime land surface temperature anomalies for a given duration obtained by moderate resolution imaging spectroradiometer. Next parameter which I will discuss about is wind. Successive satellite images can be used for estimating wind direction and speed. This is particularly useful over the oceans where conventional weather observations are not possible. The accuracy of weather forecast improved dramatically due to incorporation of satellite derived winds in forecast models. The path of cloud movement should be known. You can see in the slide the images by INSAT 3D depicting wind speed produced by Indian Meteorological Department. Next is solar radiation. Insolation measurements in agricultural field or weather stations are generally carried out using pyranometers, but due to sparse distribution of ground based meteorological measurements like cloud cover, cloud type, cloud height, bright sunshine or temperature, the spatial representation of insolation is not proper. For derivation and mapping of insolation surface using satellite data, several methods can be followed like regression, physical and digital elevation model based approach. These techniques can be applied both on geostationary satellites and on polar orbiting satellites. First, I will discuss about regression approach. In this approach, the coincidental ground and satellite data is used to develop the regression coefficients. The amount of cloud is estimated for a given area from the satellite derived visible images, followed by deployment of regression equation for different categories of cloud to estimate solar radiation. Next approach is physical approach. In this approach, the interaction of the incident and reflected radiation with the land surface features and atmosphere is treated in physical manner. Radiative transfer equations are used to estimate the solar radiation by taking into account the concentration profiles of different atmospheric components, cloudiness and atmospheric water vapor. Though this approach could be able to provide higher accuracy, the regression approach remained the choice for operational use due to its simplicity. Along with the satellite images, several other inputs like Julian day time, solar zenith angle, cloud attenuation coefficients for different cloud categories, ozone content, atmospheric moisture content are used for successful estimation of surface insolation. Next meteorological parameter which will be discussed is evapotranspiration. With the availability of different resolution satellite images, remote sensing is becoming a useful tool for providing evapotranspiration information at various scales. Methods for estimation of evapotranspiration can be broadly categorized into empirical direct method, residual method of energy budget and indirect method. Empirical approach. In this method, satellite images are directly introduced in semi-empirical models to estimate the evapotranspiration. This approach assumes that there exists a direct relationship between daily evapotranspiration and instantaneous temperature difference between surface and air temperature. Equation is given, you can go through that. The surface temperature can be estimated from satellite derived infrared images. Rn can be computed from satellite derived incident solar and atmospheric radiations, whereas A and B can be derived as a function of several parameters like wind speed, roughness and atmospheric stability. The major hypothesis of this approach is that the soil heat flux is equal to 0. Next is residual approach. The residual methods are an intermediate approach using both empirical relationships and physical parameterization. There are several models available for estimation of evapotranspiration using satellite data. Among them, SEBAL, SEBI, as SCBI and SCBS have become increasingly popular. These models have been designed to compute the energy partitioning with minimum ground based data. The incoming solar radiation, surface temperature, albedo and vegetation indices maps are the requirements for these models. In these models, the emissivity, roughness length and soil heat flux are retrieved from vegetation indices using semi-empirical relationships. The sensible heat flux, which is represented by H, is computed by the flux inversion at dry, non-evaporating land units and at wet surface types, whereas the latent heat flux represented by Le is estimated as the residual of energy balance. The equation is Rn equals to Le plus H plus G. Next I will discuss about radar meteorology. Radar, that is radio detection and ranging, was mainly developed to detect and monitor aircraft when they are out of visual range. Radar operates in microwave region of the electromagnetic spectra for detection of location, altitude and movements of any stationary or moving object. A high power radiation beam is transmitted by radar, whereas a small portion of the same is received back after interaction with objects. In this light, the pulse length, band width and pulse volume are illustrated in the figure. Pulse repetition frequency, PRF. It is the number of pulses emitted or transmitted per second. Transmission time is the duration of each pulse. Beam width is the angular width of the beam. Now, by knowing the transmission time, the pulse length can be calculated. For any typical weather radar, the PRF value is 325, pulse length is around 1 kilometer and beam width is about 1 degree. So, by combining the pulse length and beam width information, the pulse volume can be calculated. The pulse length, bandwidth and pulse volume are illustrated in the figure. You can have a look. While interacting with several atmospheric particles, example raindrop, atmospheric gases, aerosols, the major parts of beam energy are attenuated in terms of both scattering and absorption. Hence, a small fraction of incident radiation could return back to antenna. The beam attenuation increases with length of atmosphere or the atmospheric particles. The heavy thunderstorm may result in around 5% reduction in backscattered power, whereas it may be up to 80% in case of rain and hailstorms. The frequencies used in the radar vary based on the kinds of application. In major cases, S-band radar is used for weather based studies, as it is the trade-off between high sensitivity and minimal attenuation. Next is Doppler radar. It can provide information on the speed and direction of moving target by comparing the transmitted and received signal frequency. Based on the movement of power distribution, three parameters are generated. First is reflectivity. Here, the amount of power received by the radar after scattering from the targets. In absence of any target, the Z value, which is reflectivity value, will be 0, as no power will be reflected back. The unit of reflectivity is decibels, example 5 to 20 for light snow due to inefficient reflection, and 30 to 45 for moderate rain, and 60 to 75 for hailstorms. Next is radial velocity, the time variation of reflectivity. So, two kinds of primary information can be gathered, rotation and scan angle. The entire vortex, example hurricane, tornado, mesocyclone etc., can be visualized by a single radar, but some of its parts moving towards or away from the radar can be captured. The scan angle can provide a vertical profile of rainfall or wind. Next is spectral width. It is the time variation of the radial velocity. The turbulence like tornadoes can be described by spectrum width. In case of the turbulence, the values of W, that is spectral width, become higher. Now, in the next slide, you will see 4 figures showing plan position indicator, which is most common type of radar display. It is of Kolkata region. The radar antenna is usually represented in the center of the display, so the distance from it and height above ground can be drawn as concentric circles. The radar antenna sends pulses while rotating 360 degrees around the radar site at a fixed elevation angle. It can then change angle or repeat at the same angle according to the need. Coming to the summary part, availability of near real time reliable agromet information through satellite technology can contribute in estimation or forecasting of agricultural production. Based on higher reflectance and lower temperature, clouds can be differentiated from others. Cloud indexing, thresholding, life history, cloud model are important rainfall estimating procedures using visible and infrared images. SSM and TRMM are major microwave sensors for rainfall estimation. Next, we discussed about AVHRR and MODIS, which are extensively used for land surface temperature and air temperature estimation. The solar radiation parameters can be retrieved from both polar and geostationary satellites using regression and physical approaches. Evapotranspiration can be estimated using insolation, surface temperature, albedo, vegetation indices from satellite images. Few popular models are SCBAL, SCBI and SCBS. Now, with radar technology, the structure of precipitating clouds, thunderstorms and cyclones can also be estimated with higher accuracy. Thank you.